Okay, welcome to part one of this Kristal mixing tutorial. We're just going to do a quick overview of things. If you haven't done it already, download the PDF, print it out, and give it a good read, because once you read through that a couple times, you'll be a Kristal expert. Okay, first off, we need to get some tracks imported here. What we're going to do is a real rough mix. We'll be using these tracks throughout the whole tutorial, but for now we're just going to select on a couple of them. You'll notice once they're selected, information pops up down here. The name of the track, the last date you accessed it, length of it, and the sample rate. Sometimes you'll have tracks at 48, sometimes you'll have it at 44.1. This is a good way to find out what your sample rate is, and that way if you run into something later, you don't pull your hair out trying to figure out what it is. You'll know exactly what each track sample rate is. Some people leave the autoplay on. I personally do not, because it drives me nuts. Say I'm wanting to go through the tracks and all of a sudden it starts playing. And if I'm going through a lot of tracks, I really don't want this popping up, so I leave this off. Now there's two ways to get the track in. We can click open. We'll go ahead and name this. And we'll go down here and grab the kick. You can see the information popped up. And to get this one in, we'll double left click it. And name it. And one more for good measure. We'll bring in the bass. And we'll left click it. Now I'd like to point out that up here we got the room mic, the kick, and the bass. They're also named down here along the bottom. This is alright until you do something like this. These buttons will help you connect or disconnect each waver. Now I can disconnect them like so, and notice all the names are gone. Okay? Now watch what happens when I click the kick, the room mic, and the bass. Notice they came up in the order I clicked them. They don't reorder up here, but they will reorder down here, which can get confusing when you got all 16 tracks open and you're trying to bounce and everything else. So you want to make sure that if it does get messed up down here, you start top to bottom to get them back in order down here. Just a little thing. It's another feature of Kristal. Okay. Along this top line here, what we have are our main tools. Select, so we can select each track or adjust the fade or the length of the track, anything along those lines. That's what that tool does. Now by selecting in by using the 1, 2, and 3 key above the QWERTY, if you're doing edits, that can come in real handy. The scissor tool, cut tool, does exactly what you figure. Go in here and make your cuts, and then if you hit 1 and select, then you can move them all over the place, yada yada yada. And by using Control Z, we can remove all that. Glue tool is if I make a bunch of cuts and I want to glue the sections together. Comes in handy. But we want the main selection tool here. Now as we click the track, you'll notice that an attribute line, an info line, pops up here. On this, it'll give you the name of the track. You can rename the track here, okay? But it'll only rename the waiver itself. It will not rename the track over here or down in your mixer window. It'll only rename this up here. Something to be aware of if you come up here and you rename something and all of a sudden everything's all out of sync because you can't, everything don't match up here. Colors, I don't use them myself. Well, I can't say that. Very rarely do I use them. But you can select the colors for each individual waiver. As in grouping them, say you have all your drums, leave them gray, and vocals in yellow and stuff. I don't use it, but it's easy to do. It's all personal preference. The attributes. This is a cool little section. You have 3 selections. When you select muted here, you will mute the track in place. Now you can still move it around, and you can still do the cuts, okay? But you just won't hear it, alright? This is not the same as muting it down here, because this just mutes the channel. If you leave it unmuted and it's muted down here, you can still drag this track down here, and it will be blended with this track and be heard. Whereas if you mute it here, no matter what you do to the track, it's going to stay muted. Okay? You can still make the adjustments, but it's going to stay muted. Locked is exactly what it says. You can't do nothing to the track now. You can't cut, you can't move it, you can't do nothing. It's locked. So if you do a lot of edits on a track, but you're not ready to glue it yet, this is what you want to use. Okay? Transparent. This is one of those cool little things that most people don't even think about. Let's expand this out so I can shrink this. It's one of these cool little things that most people don't even check out, but blending in Kristal is a big help instead of bouncing if you just want to overlay tracks. Now by having it transparent, it don't do much when only one of them is transparent. But as you can tell here, this one's already transparent. When I select here, I'm on the kick. The attributes ain't set yet, but I make this one transparent. Now you can see both tracks together. The red outline will show you which one is selected and which one ain't. The black line shows you the end mark. This way you can see what's underneath. Okay? So if I want to make sure this fade goes right there, I can come in here and now select the fade for the other track and make it here. My crossfades will be even because I can see both sides of it. You can also move it in and out and all that fun stuff. It comes in very handy. It's all depends on how you want to use it. Myself, I use it a lot when I'm doing a lot of bounces. It comes in very, very handy. Whoops. We don't want to mute the transparent track. Okay. Next, we'll talk about cutting. If we do select the cut tool and we make a few cuts here, say here and here and here and here and here and here. Now I go back to the select tool and I select the piece and hit delete and remove it. Okay. Now we're going to zoom in a little bit more on this. Now we can come in and tighten it up, and we'll be doing this later to clean up spill on the tracks. Okay. Be cutting and editing, but I want to show you that no matter what you cut out, this gives you the ability to move this all over the place. Okay, I can even move it down to this track, but it's not really gone. Watch, if I spread this out, here are the two pieces. The cut's just a quick way to make adjustments. Everything in Kristal is non-destructive, so you don't have to worry about really ruining your tracks, but I still say back up and use a copy when you're working on any audio, just to be on the safe side. Okay? And we'll do the Control-Z thing and get all the